Welcome back to the Pilots Meeting. Today it is part 2 of my chat with my friend Cassie, the Kite Shop Lady. I am Jesse. This is Skyrider Limited. Let's get into it. And now, part 2.
And yeah, basically, I've got a couple that range from small-ish, but I don't do super, super small because they aren't fun. Like the kites that you can often get for like $35, they're too fast.
Well, it was like that quad foil the gentleman approached us about a quad foil that he bought. Super good manufacturer, really nice kite, beautifully made. Trying to get it set up for him to fly, like the tuning with I suspect that there's a ready-to-fly version with handles that make sense.
Right, because he actually had the intermediate model for what it's worth.
Yeah.
When I went to look at their website to get some specs, because he was asking me for recommendations online. And again, back to that customer service, I'm not just going to be like, oh, well, it should be this. I often then go to the source and say, okay, what's the dimensions on this kite? What do they recommend? Because not all 2-meter foils use the same line strength. Some are just pull harder.
Yep.
And then for single lines, listen, this is where I break the rules. A lot of people love diamonds, and I'm not going to talk people out of diamonds, but I tell people basically for your first single line kite, I've got 3 styles that I recommend. One is like just a super simple foil. We've got some octopus foils. They're $25, come with string already tied on, fly like a dream. Awesome. And they even fold into
I bet you remember to remind people that the string may not be attached at the end of the winder, so be
careful. 90,
oh my God.
Friends, 99.5% of the time, the string is in fact tied on the inside. But that 0.5% of the time is why none of us will guarantee it. Even when I worked in manufacturing, we would tell people it should be, but I can't guarantee it.
How many times I've watched some kid with, plastic like card winder.
It's heartbreaking.
Bye.
But okay, so the first option is going to be either like I've got a little sled and I've got a little foil. I don't love parafoil 2s because they actually need more wind, but I've got a couple of small foil style kites that can fly in like 4 or 5 mile an hour wind. Perfect. Sure. And then of course I've got diamonds, but what I tell people with the diamonds versus the deltas is I personally prefer the deltas because it's the triangle shape and it's a flat sail, and it generally is what I refer to as glued to the blue. You put it in the sky and it stays where it's put, right? Diamonds, because they've got, it's called either a dihedral or also eddies. They might not have the exact same bow, but like it basically has a little bit of bow in it. So wait, okay, I'm going to try to do it so the camera sees it. So basically a delta is solid sail. It's going to go up in the sky and stay where it's put. Because the diamond has a little bit of bend in it, as the wind hits it, it'll hit that one and then that one. And the kite, literally, I'll tell people, one is glued to the blue and the other one dances in the sky. Neither is the wrong answer. However, the diamond is a little bit more likely to crash initially as you're getting it into the sky because it is dancing, and sometimes it dances into the ground. This is not a fault of the kite. It's literally just because of that shape.
I've also seen some weird, and maybe it's a price point thing. I've seen some diamonds recently where instead of having a true dihedral that would make them stable, it's actually going down and the kite's still flat when assembled. It's almost like the connector's in the wrong spot.
Are you sure that's not an eddy with the like bowed stick?
No, because effectively
and actually I'll say this now because an eddies and diamonds look the same. And I recently made a kite. I called it Which Came First because it was an eddy with a diamond on it. They look the same.
That was your diamond kite.
Right. An eddy has one stick across that it's longer than the width of the kite. So that then, and oftentimes it has even one of those tension lines.
Yep.
And so the bow comes from, it's a more natural bow. It's kind of a curved bow. A diamond has 2 sticks that go into a fitting.
So these were definitely had a fitting, but because there was one out here on the beach on Friday, and my initial reaction was like, that's in the wrong place.
I wonder what brand it was. Because some brands, that's
one
the
of the
other
other
thing.
flyers went over and like tried to help,
Yeah.
and there was a stop in the way of moving it down. To
It was
put
probably
the
supposed to
thing-
be on the other end.
Well,
That's
as
my
I was like,
guess.
I feel like it's on the wrong side of the stop, and like we
That
need
makes
to
you
pop a
almost
spine
wonder
out,
if
but,
that
like,
spine was installed upside down.
no, I mean the kite looked normal other
Right.
than where it was, and the sail was tight.
And,
But
it could still fly.
Yeah, it
But
just wasn't super happy about doing it.
That's the other thing, though, is that a lot of kite shops you'll find we don't have the dollar store kites.
Right.
There's like a lot of people, they come in and they want to,
Although
they want customer service on something that I would sell for $200 because of the quality, and they got it on Amazon for $15.
right.
And they want me to completely redesign that kite because the one they bought doesn't fly.
Right.
And I can't. I don't have enough time in my life
Right.
to, especially like a dual line foil. I think of one in particular that somebody brought it in. It really didn't fly right. And they wanted me to retie the bridle. And I'm like, sir, I don't know what
No.
dimensions to use. But also, I don't know what dimensions to
Right.
use because it turns out I am not a foil bridle tire. If I need to tie one, I know who to call to ask, Ben Huggett. Hey, Ben, do you know? Yeah.
To say, I hope you don't think I'm gonna have the answer to that.
Oh, no. But
Love
you
you,
might,
but
you might know
no.
somebody. You might be like, oh, yeah, so-and-so has that kite. But literally,
Yeah.
like, as kite people, even like, it gives me pride that sometimes somebody comes into my shop for a kite repair and I think I know the answer, but I will literally phone a friend and I'll call Marianne Trenapole. I will call Don Dixon down at Kites Unlimited
Mhm.
in Atlantic Beach. Don Dixon is a treasure trove of information.
Mhm.
And I'll literally phone a friend. And I think actually the customers like seeing that. And if I can give advice to people just across the board in life,
Mhm.
when you are in a professional setting and you don't know the answer, it actually looks better, in my opinion, to say, I don't know, let me ask,
Right.
than make up an answer.
No, totally. Yeah. Definitely.
So like, but you're mentioning a kite that I wonder, was it the $5 special at Walgreens? Or was it a kite that was bought in the kite loft? Because there's a good chance.
Just because we were standing, 100 feet from the kite
But
loft.
you don't know that.
But I don't know that. That's
right.
true.
Like literally people
Although,
bring me the
I
$5
feel
special
like
from Walgreens
They
to
also
fix.
had the infamous pirate ship, and
I don't sell those. Listen, I could
flew.
if I wanted to.
I saw it fly with my own eyes.
They can. They just need a very specific wind, and they are a pain in the booba to put together. Do you like how I did that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You're allowed to swear on here,
Oh, well, they're a pain in the ass to put together.
There you go.
Yeah. But like literally, like a lot of those kites, I could sell them, but they make better decor.
Yeah.
They can fly.
Yep.
But it needs, like, I would say most of those kites need exactly 8 to 18 mile an hour winds.
So we all so we had a semi roped off space, and like we're standing there, and we all kind of stopped. We all turned around and went, huh, they got the pirate ship to fly. Look
but
at that.
You know why? It's because the wind was like a steady like 18 to 20.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah. If it had been any higher, it wouldn't have worked.
Yep.
And
They
you know,
fly at such I feel like you could mess with a bridle, because they're most of them are like single toe point attached.
But here's
And
the
you
other
would probably get that thing to fly a lot better.
Here's the other thing, though. Most of us who know how to tweak a bridle probably aren't flying that kite.
No.
Some of us
now
might.
I kind of want to. This conversation is maybe like I might have to walk to the kite loft.
We're gonna have to walk to
one.
the kite loft, and then we're gonna have to film a tutorial on how to tweak. No,
modify your.
We're not doing this.
We're not doing this. Okay, we're not doing this. I've been told we're not doing
hey,
this.
Jesse,
Sorry,
remember
folks.
how we both?
If you were hoping I was going to show you how to fly the infamous pirate ship,
you can.
Cassie
I
says
just don't
no.
want to mess with the bridle.
All right. So,
but we both do that where we sign up for too much, and then we're like, okay, and now we're committed to too
oh
many
no,
things.
if it isn't the consequences of our own actions.
Oh no. Oh no.
So, I know you have some deltas in the store.
Just a couple.
Now, is that because there's like an education point there that people always seem to skip over with the leading edges and just?
Oh, Delta repairs or Delta fly?
No, fly. So I can't tell you the number of times I've been on a beach and I'm like, here, can I give you some advice? Let me see your kite. Shoves leading edge sticks to the...
First of all, you will be pleased to know that any time somebody buys a Delta from me, that I know that it needs to be unfolded and pushed out. So you guys, the rule of thumb is, on a Delta wing kite, sometimes the bigger ones, the sticks are pushed up to the nose. Because that's...
Shipping things.
Yeah, it's packaging.
Yep.
I tell people all the time, this kite can ship in an affordable box, but if it was the other way, this would now be cost prohibitive to ship.
Right.
Right. So,
because you're trying. I imagine what they're doing is they're probably using the stick the same length as the spine, shoving it up to the nose, and then it's.
well, and I mean, traditionally, the Delta generally has a gap at the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Traditionally.
Yep.
And so basically, they'll push the stick up to the nose, and they'll fold in the wingtip, and everything folds up. But I tell people every time they leave my store, push that stick down. A mom will tell them, think of it about a bird that needs its wing fixed. But I will tell people literally, if you
Nice
leave the
little
weight up here, all the
imagery.
weight is in the nose and it doesn't fly right. If you push the weight down here, it's now distributed correctly.
Right.
And then I joke with people
I always
that
use the figure skater spinning arms in versus arms out.
when I always tell people, I'm like, listen, if you don't do this, you're going to come back and say, this kite flies like shit. And you're going to be mad at me. And I'm going to say, I told you so. So like I always joke with people about that, but I use that line.
Yep.
I do get people in, but I mean, I'm going to use example. Last summer, there was a family that I had told everything to the husband. I had told everything to the wife. The wife comes back a couple of hours. Sorry, dudes, but this is pretty typical. The wife comes back because her husband didn't want to come in. And she says, this kite won't fly. I'm like, what's going on? And she shows me, first of all, they had tied the string onto the back of the kite on the spine, even though there was literally a keel.
Yeah. Oh.
And I was like,
buddy.
well, why didn't you guys do it on the front? And she said, well, my husband told me it needed to go back here. And then the sticks were still at the nose. And I was like, well, and she's like, I told him you said that. And he said, no, you didn't have to. And then the trifecta, I've never had the trifecta. The tail was still folded, factory folded, rubber banded. You can tell. Listen, we can tell if it's still factory folded. And I asked her, and she said, well, he said. And so I told her, ma'am, with all due respect, tell your husband he's a dumbass. And I showed her everything. She's like, I told him and he said I was wrong. Ma'am, tell your husband he's a dumbass.
Better yet, send him to me. I'll do it.
No, she can do it herself. I'm not married to the guy.
Well, that's the magic. You get to say the things with no less repercussions.
Right, but then I risk getting a 1-star rating on the internet.
Oh, yeah. I see.
But then that would be a
responding.
review I would enjoy. Anyway.
But I also revel in responding to like Yelp reviews.
Right.
I will say I very rarely got a bad one, but oh, I'm so sorry you feel that way when you came in with your Walmart bike that I told you it wasn't cost effective to repair and wasn't actually refusing the repair, but telling you that $300 to repair a $150 bike wasn't cost effective. Please consider accuracy in your reviews.
Well, I remember I got a bad review once because somebody wanted a kite that was neither single line nor multi-line.
And
after about 40 minutes, I told them, I'm so sorry you're asking for something that doesn't exist. And they deemed me rude. And I was like, well, I mean, I just don't know what to say at this point.
Well, your kite shop kid is holding down the fort this weekend.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Can I tell you? Can I tell you the story? So my kite shop, my employee, she's been with me for a couple of years now and she's awesome. Like this girl has just the right amount of wit and amusement that like, it's great. So
they're not related. And I'm fully convinced that it's somehow Cassie's daughter.
I know, which is weird because I've never had any children. But so she texted me, what was it, yesterday or the day before? She is 2 hours into her first shift of the 2026 season, 2 hours into her first shift of the year. And she says, Cassie, I already got a stupid question. I'm like, ooh, tell me more. What did they say? And she says that somebody had asked her, like, they live by like a power plant and there's a bunch of big, not just like normal power lines, but big power lines.
Like linemen.
Yeah. And they ask her, like, but it should be fine. The kite string shouldn't conduct electricity. It should be fine, right?
Hey, guess what?
And well, so my response to her was, did you ask them, or did you tell them that they could find out if they wanted to fuck around? And good news is that she knows better than that, because she even said what I would have said in the store, because I might joke about that from a distance, but up close, it's like, we need to word it softer. She told them, well, sir, I'm not sure if you're aware, but they discovered electricity with the using a kite. So we really just don't recommend it.
I'm so proud.
And I can picture her in my head. That guy walked out the door and she probably had one or two tears just streaming because she was holding in the laughter and she's immediately texting me. I love her though because she gives me the best story times.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. But we get crazy, it's like on days like yesterday. Oh my God, Jay Nur and I were laughing. So Jay at the Kite Loft, we go way back, right? Like, and this is the thing is people.
How long is Jay? So the Kite Loft is celebrating 51 years this year.
And
how
when
long has Jay been?
When I started at New Tech in 2005, Mary Lynn and I were talking about this yesterday. We were trying to figure it out. But when I started at New Tech in 2005, they had either just bought the business or they were just buying it.
Okay.
Because I vaguely remember the crossover because I was in the bookkeeping, right? And so I vaguely remember the crossover. But that was 21 years ago. So my time in that life can legally drink. I'm sorry, I don't. But no, Jay and I were laughing about it because it's like, days like today that people are like, oh, this is a great day for flying a kite. And as the kite shop people, we're like, it's a great day for breaking a kite. And those are the days that I always saw foils.
There was a dude out there with a pocket foil just taking a nap on the beach.
But that's when, honestly, and so that's when I sell the foils because the foils are rated up to like 35.
Bro,
man.
you're that is the life you are living right there.
Next level,
literally.
But that's the thing though, is that a foil doesn't have any sticks to break.
Right. So the best part of that was one of the other flyers looks at me and goes, "Yeah." Because the quad team was out there and we were talking about all the wind and them getting dragged. He's like, I don't know if they got dragged or they walked, but I think they started by those bags. I was like, that's a person. He's like, what? I was like, that's the person flying that kite, that single line kite.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I laugh, people will come in on days like today and I tell them, but like, there's people that are like, I'm doing it anyway. I want to have the time. I'm like, all right. And then, okay, now is a piece of Kite Lady advice that I want the world to hear because this is one. I can't believe how many times, like people that have even been in it for a long time don't know. Listen to your kite string.
Oh, yeah.
Because here's the thing. Yep. When it's singing, now there's two kinds of singing. One of them is when the wind is blowing just right and it's just like hitting the line right that it's
But that's more of a single line.
It's kind of no, I'm talking about single lines.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Multi-lines too. But with single lines, it's more often that somebody's like, my line broke. And I'm like, well, what was the line like right before it broke? And they're like, oh, man, it was humming. It was vibrating. So here's my rule of thumb that I want everybody. This is my year that I'm going to keep putting this out there and hopefully teach the world. Listen to your kite string. When the string is pulling so hard to the kite that like looking at it gives you rope burn. Like I'm not saying like, you have to touch it. You look at it and you get rope burn. When it's singing, when you can literally, I joke, like you can pluck it like a harp string. Like we're going to make a little song. That's when the kite string is at its break point. Because the reality is a lot of kites could actually fly in higher winds than they're rated for on the package because the string can only be so heavy if you want to fly it in lower winds.
Right.
So a lot of these kites actually have a much wider range, but if you want to fly it in high winds, you need to put heavier line on it because more often than not, we don't break the kites as often as the line breaks.
I'm going to get on a related soapbox here because the next question somebody's going to ask after hearing that is, where do I get heavier line? And one of the most common things I see show up on the air, you know where I'm going with this already. I can see that.
Go on.
Yep. So, hey, Kevlar is not okay anymore.
Well, listen though, I've learned I was spouting my mouth out to somebody that it's illegal, and I was corrected. It is not illegal, but it is
it's just
highly
a deeply bad.
Upon.
So
Highly
illegal is the crushed glass cutting lines, from India and Pakistan and those fighting kite traditions, and it's actually become illegal over there.
And we do fighting kites over here, but we don't put glass on the line.
It's even become illegal over there because so many injuries from the broken line coming down and cutting people. But Kevlar is like a super old school 90s, like super durable.
But it will always win.
It always wins, and it will
win against your arm. It'll win against
such a high melt point that it's going to generate a huge amount of heat from friction, and it will just like it'll cut an ear off. It'll do nasty stuff. Right. Not to mention cutting other people out of the sky. So hey. But Kevlar had its place in time. And look, if you're flying a super expensive show kite, like
but also
need to protect
if you need more line, if you need heavier line, call your favorite kite shop.
Well,
it doesn't have to be mine. Call your favorite kite shop.
Well, it was like I know some of the really, really, really big show kites are flown on Kevlar core. because
Right.
it's there to protect something like the
But
mega
isn't that
flag
the
or
core
something.
of it?
Yeah.
So that already.
Yeah, it's Dacron jacket
Right,
over
right, right.
over a Kevlar
But
core.
even those people generally tend to fly
But-
in an area that they're not interacting with a lot
Well,
of
they're
other
also
kites.
like, if you're flying something as big as a mega flag, it's an event. You've got in permitting, and
right.
like you own that field.
Right. And if you're flying with Kevlar core, again, you own that field. That's your field.
Right.
Or
So,
you're flying with
but-
highly experienced people.
Outside of very
'Cause stuff that's that
specific
big-
applications, Kevlar is not only unnecessary, it's unsafe.
Right. Oh man, I saw in one of the, we're in all of the various and sundry kite groups, and today I was seeing in one of the kite groups, somebody was asking for a recommendation for a first kite, and somebody was like, "Oh, you need a 16 square meter," and my stomach dropped. That's the worst first kite. That's so big. Like, that's dangerous. So like, a lot of times people want to go big, and I'm still like, okay, let's go big within reason, because I want you to know how to
So,
fly it first.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because you will have a good perspective on this, and I've had this theory for a little bit. We've talked a little bit about, and one of the videos that, spoiler alert, I'm going to make this video at some point, and hopefully I will have made it before this podcast comes out.
Ooh.
But I want to do a video on ground staking and anchoring kites. And the reason I
We were
want to do
supposed
it
to
is
do
I've
that
seen
this weekend.
the weather's not been great.
The
so
weather's too big.
really didn't have a good opportunity to film
But
it
that's
outside
it. Like,
out on the show kite field. But I've seen a rash of show kites getting away from people, and in general, people seeing show kites and wanting to dive right into them. And I have a theory that the rise of less expensive large kites from Asia, which has lowered the barrier to entry to the show
people
kite
are buying
field.
kites for $200 that are generally
When
closer to
the only
$2,000.
source was Peter Lynn, was $1,700-$1,800 kites.
That's actually
and-
that's where I don't do very good at customer service. People will come in with one of those kites and ask what line to fly with it, and I ask what's recommended, and nothing. The manufacturer gives no information, and I don't know what the pull is.
Right.
How do I know if I'm recommending 500-pound or 1,500-pound line?
Right.
Because
Or something that doesn't even list a break weight. It's measured by thickness.
Right.
In
and
millimeters.
ultimately, because the difference, back to the why do little kites come with string that breaks? Because if you have heavy enough line for the highest wind,
Right.
it's not going to fly in the low wind because the string is literally too heavy.
Right.
That's
So-
a good point, though.
So, like, I have this
Yeah.
theory that the lowered barrier to entry and price point of those show kites has made for more less experienced show. Not that
And
there's
it's
a
not
problem with
that
people
we
wanting
want
to
to
get into
say
show
that
kites,
people
but,
aren't
like,
allowed to fly these kites.
but-
There comes a level where you need education.
Yeah, well, and it used to be that you bought some single line kites, you got into single line kites, and then you got to know some people with show kites and maybe
Yeah.
help them, and you sort of learned the safe practices by helping
Right.
them,
Right.
the line it to fly it on, how to anchor it.
But if you don't understand how to anchor it safely,
Right.
yeah.
Because
Right.
I mean that's a lot of sail area that can generate, especially if you've got a big pile of line laundry out and a big
Right.
pilot and something to
Right.
drag all that up. You got a
Well, 'cause
8 meter pilot and a midi ray and
Well, it's even the knots you tie. Like, okay,
Mhm.
perfect example. Ask me about my knee. Roughly 20 years ago, I was flying with Gail and her team. And we flew real big show kites, like literally Boudreaux, the giant octopus that we anchored off to 2 separate cars.
Yep.
We split the anchor, right? And so at some point, somebody tied a new knot. They were like,
Oh.
"Oh, I just learned this knot."
Oh,
Well,
did you?
That's exactly where the line broke. And then this is where it gets funny. Okay, so 2 events in a row. Not as funny as you'd think, but it's funny. Two weekends. It was like basically one weekend in the middle, but 2 events that were 2 weekends apart from each other.
Mhm.
I had to chase things down.
Mm.
And of course, at the time I was I in my 20s still? Was I in my 30s yet? I don't know, you guys. It's fine. But of course, like, we're on a team where, like, it's like a couple of older couples and then like a couple of younger couples. So when something breaks free, all the old people turn and look at the young people.
This
I'm
is
like,
your problem now.
All right, here we go. So a couple of times I had to like launch myself onto something to catch it. But okay, 2 funnies. First of all, the first event, I never did catch that kite. I caught a piece of the wind dart, but one of the kites, it continued to fly, and we were in the middle of Texas. And the event,
And it's
it was
probably still soaring over Texas
no,
somewhere today.
it's even better. So they took the golf cart down the country road where the kite went off to, and they finally find the kite, And it has, like, the family has just gotten home from church, and they are bringing a big-ass ladder out from their garage because the kite has landed with the bridle around the chimney.
Mm.
And can you even imagine being that family being like, look at what the good Lord has brought us today? So that one's funny because, like, yeah, it was basically a number of people got there. Because by that point, I had caught the wind art, and me and somebody else were tackling that stuff back. Oh my gosh. But then the next event, so 2 weekends later, I go down on my knee again when something broke free, whatever. I went to run. I got to the other end of the field, and to this day, I don't remember if I went under the rope or over the rope. There was rope at the end of the field. I don't remember. Did I go under? Did I go over? I don't know. When I got to the other side of the rope, my body was still moving, but my top half was moving faster than my bottom half. Can you see it? Literally, it was a cartoon. Even in my head as it was happening, I was seeing like Bugs Bunny or some shit. Like
I get more of a Flintstones. That's like a Fred does the.
No, I didn't actually do a full cartwheel, but like literally, so my top half is, and I can feel myself going down. I'm like, oh, you're going. And I bounced off of my right knee, caught whatever had broken free.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I'm halfway back to where we're all sitting, I'm hobbling. Now, you friends, it's 20 years later, and I can tell you exactly why my right knee is problematic. Yeah, those 2 weekends. Yeah. But that's the example. Like, we were a very experienced team. Like, this was Gail and Christian Baden-Powell and all those folks down in Texas that definitely knew what they were doing.
Yep.
But all it takes is one big gust of wind. And even you think your line is strong enough and it's not, or you think that snap swivel is strong enough and it broke, or.
I mean, I watched, I'm going to really date things here, but like, the original world's largest kite, which was the Mega Bite. So
okay, yeah.
the Peterland trilobites, the long trilobites, not the Asian trilobites that are around these days.
Yeah.
So the Mega Bite was at one point long enough to play like a decent game of football inside. Like, because for a while, the Peter's solution when it got beat, it was built as zippers so it could be packed into separate bags.
Right.
And he would just make a new section and zip it in.
That's so awesome.
So you just make a new, like, four.
Did you ever get to meet Peter?
Oh, many times.
I'm so. Peter Lynn passed away, about a week and a half ago?
It's about a week or two right in there.
But I just want to say
this
it
in
here,
April.
Of all the people that I will always regret never getting to meet, because that guy sounded. Like everything I know about him, I wish I could have. I got to meet Corey Jensen quite a few times, and there was a couple of times that Corey Lama held court, and I got to. I wish that I had been able to just sit and listen to Peter talk sometime.
It was pretty fun, and it was also pretty fun to just watch him watch the things he had made.
Right.
Some of my like memories of Peter, just like watching the Megabyte. Just sitting, so he used to bring it to Wildwood.
Okay. Oh wow.
And so if you didn't get to Wildwood until
my first and only Wildwood was in 2019.
Okay, so you were never there before the new convention center went.
No.
Which I say new convention center like it's not almost 30 years old now.
Yeah. Right.
But back in the 90s, the convention center and the first pier there weren't there.
Right.
And so that next stretch of beach out to where Maurice Piers was actually part of the festival. It used to be more tucked in over there. So they would put the Megabyte into that corner, and there was a local Hummer dealer. There would be three of the big H1 Hummers.
Did they use those Hummers to anchor it off?
Except for the year it picked up the front end and started dragging three Hummers, three fully loaded luxury Hummers, probably weighed 8,000 pounds a piece.
Right.
And it is dragging these Hummers by the bumper hitches, like the military hook hitches, bodily down the beach.
I was there, I'm guessing about a decade later is when Gomberg made the next biggest kite in the world.
So that would have been the Mega Ray next.
No, it was no. Okay, so flash forward to the Mega Flag.
So the Flag, that's probably 15 years after the Bite, because the Ray...
And that was in 2005, because I can date that.
Was the Flag that early?
Yeah, because I remember...
the Mega Ray was only the biggest for a little while.
I was because I was working for New Tech for like 3 weeks.
The Mega Bite was the biggest into like 98-ish at least. And then came the Mega Ray.
Right.
So when they started doing the Rays, he decided to one up the Megabyte with a Mega Ray, which hasn't been seen in a very long time. I actually sent before a couple years ago. One of the sewers at Peter Lynn had some TikTok following going, and I commented in one of her. She was building this maxi whale, yellow maxi whale, really cool looking whale. Because it's the upper body was yellow, but all the details were still there. They hadn't like made just a yellow whale. Like it was a really cool whale. Anyway, and I was like, hey, whatever happened to the Mega Ray? And I never got a response, which I was a little bummed about. But I
don't even respond to everything.
Well, also she may genuinely not have known, like depending on how long she'd been with the company. But anyway, the flag.
So a couple of years later, the flag.
Yep.
So I can tell you, definitely 2005.
Yep.
I've been working for New Tech for about 3 weeks, and they said, hey, do you want to come do this thing? And I hadn't met David Gomberg yet.
Snowman.
Right, and literally, like that was the event that I met Gail at. That's when I met David Gomberg. Like this was like a huge deal. So I can pinpoint the date, but we had that tied off to mattress trucks.
Yep.
And they got drug.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
like,
somewhere out there, and I actually John Luter is looking for was looking into the Kite Man Group archive. Yeah. There was a international festival that Disney had at the Florida park with the help of Kite Man Group, and they brought in a bunch of flyers, including Peter Lynn. And they flew the Megabyte in a parking lot. And wait, it gets better. They got crane trucks in and dragged it around like towed water, like Kite Man tows the water ski because there's not enough wind in a surrounded parking lot to get the damn thing inflated. So they tied it to the back of 2 trucks, and there's somewhere I have seen video, like VHS.
They're probably going about 4 miles an hour
of these 2 trucks, like synchronized, like driving, and they're like big, like flatbed with the crane, rail crane over the top.
Yeah.
Dragging this thing at probably closer to 10 miles an hour.
Damn.
Because it's not, again, it at the time was the largest kite by surface area in the world.
Right.
I mean,
well, and that just what have we seen kites tied off to? Like I was just thinking about Kite Fest Louisiana when the inflatables were. I don't know if they still do it because it's been a minute since I've been able to go to that event. But when I lived in Texas, I went all the time, and those kites were tied off to tractors. And they would split the bridles to stabilize it.
Yep.
Especially in those inland areas where the wind is kind of dirty.
Yeah.
And when I say dirty wind, I mean it's like coming over a tree, and like you feel like the wind is coming from this way, but then it's coming from that way and then that way because it's really turbulent.
Well, like, and not to spoil some of the magic of the hatchling a little, but like the hatchling, she actually will fly. So it's funny, it isn't big kite conversation. Carl built a kite that does fly, even though she doesn't fly on her own very often.
Right.
There is test footage of her flying on her own. She's like 15 miles an hour to really be happy because she is a framed kite, and like the spars that hold her wings out are like they're actually bigger than, but they're a close relative of like a windsurfing mast.
They thick.
Yeah. So she gets a little bit of help. Below 10 miles an hour, it's actually a weather balloon.
Oh, nice.
So it's like 600 gallons of helium or something like wholly incredible like that hauls her up and makes her stable. And it's actually arguably the better show because we have a lot of control over her when she's under the balloon. But over 10 miles an hour, it's not safe for the balloon.
Right.
So she gets help from the combination of a completely black 12 meter, I think it's 12 meters, whatever the biggest Peter Lynn pilot is, and a maxi ray. Completely blacked out maxi ray, which maxi rays are big. They're not
real big
monsters. They're not mega, but they're big.
They're big. Dave just got a midi ray,
which is like you can handle a midi with one person, but it's a lot better with 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So this is the next size bigger ray. So you've now got 12 meters of pilot.
Yeah.
Maxi ray. 50 meters of 12 mil climbing line. Dragon, the size of an F-14 with wings open.
Right.
Big.
It's
So,
not small.
We were doing a wind test. So 2 years ago, I think I've told you the story before. I've definitely told the story in the video about the hatchling, doing the hatchling, but talking about kites and power and anchoring, like, part of the reason I want to have this conversation about anchoring and sort of put this information out there for folks is we were doing a fly test. So we didn't have the dragon because one of the rules with the hatchling is she doesn't show out to the public until we're
Right.
And so we were on site at the flight site doing a fly test. The dragon's not there. So we just have the pilot and the ray.
Mm-hmm.
This is the week of the performance, though, and Hurricane Ernesto, which has rolled through and wrecked up the place in the mid-Atlantic, has turned course and made its way for merry old England.
Which is crazy.
It was not still a hurricane, but it was still technically a tropical,
but like how
depression.
often do hurricanes head towards England?
More than you think,
okay.
but they're usually pretty diminished at that point. They usually just bring some rain and like decent wind. We ended up scrubbing because we were a bit like today. It was probably gusting into the 40s.
Right.
And our gust threshold was like 25. But
what you're saying is that if I tell Flying Squad that I'm sending them a hurricane, it could actually be legit.
Yeah.
Sorry, Steven.
Yeah. So we had the ray out and the pilot out, and they were test flying it, and it was probably 26-ish miles an hour. Like we were right on the threshold.
Right.
There was also some discussion about sustained versus gust thresholds and things like that.
Right.
Which hadn't been like I'm sure someone had the conversation, but it was above my pay grade and meeting involvement.
Yeah.
So we're out just doing this fly test, and the way the arena looks a lot like the table, since it's circle. And then we have anchor points at kind of the points of the compass. And then we have an anchor point down at the water edge for the boat transfer. So the line is going to always be at that boat transfer anchor, and then it's going to come up through basically some block and tackle gear to wherever downwind is on the compass.
Okay.
So that she's flying into the wind, but we have the ability to get the line over to the boat.
Right.
Because how she flies away is tow her off with a boat.
Right.
Sorry to ruin the magic, but so that ray and the pilot are hooked onto these anchor points, which are weight bags. They're big Tyvek or something, ballistic nylon-y bags full of rocks, and they are weighed in per bag at 1 ton.
How many pounds in a ton? Do you know?
2,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are hooked on to 2 1-ton bags. And this ray and pilot knocked over the intermediate bag and started to drag the back anchor.
That sounds about right.
And some of the best big show kite flyers in the UK were on this crew.
That kite flies on stronger than 2,000-pound line.
So they had brought in a rigging crew.
Okay.
Not just kite. I mean, there is an excellent crew of big show kite flyers on this project, but they brought in a rigging crew. Now, this is 2024. This is August of 2024.
Okay.
So the other thing that is happening in July and August of 2024 is the Paris Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
The rigging crew had come in for the last week to work with us, and then had to go back to France to take the Olympic rings off the Eiffel Tower. That was the other job they were on at the same time. So, like, they're an exceptionally qualified crew.
And they're not afraid of heights.
Rope.
They're not afraid of heights.
No. They know rope and block and tackle and gear and anchors. And they know, like, you've got some excellent big kite flyers who, big kite, show kite flyers, absolutely know what they're doing.
Right.
And then you've got these guys that are literal experts at ropes and rigging. And together, we managed to rig up a system that the line was not the problem, because it was just going to take the 2 tons of weight bag with it instead.
Yeah.
You want, talking about power and pull and like.
That's it. Well, and it's crazy because as you're talking about that kite and then you're like a ton, which sounds like a lot, but it's 2,000 pounds. And I'm like, I know for a fact that Dave, my boyfriend, carries probably 3,000 to 5,000 pound line for some of his kites.
Sure. Yep. Well, we were on, I think it was 12 millimeter.
And then when people wonder why we say get more people involved, like I remember recently, actually, somebody had asked something somewhere, and like, I think I had done my piece of advice on the Flying Smiles page, and somebody had asked, well, what about these big show kites? And I'm like, listen, the rule of thumb is always the same. Listen to your line, but also doing these big show kites, you need to ask, at what point is that wind too big for me to get this kite out of the sky?
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Because like, walking down something that can pick up a car.
Oh, you've seen my video of the time that Phil, our buddy Phil, was on Kite Line. There was a flag kite
Mm-hmm.
that, oh God, we were at Cape Fear. And in the morning, there was no wind. You know, we knew it was supposed to pick up in the afternoon. So the show kite people had laid their kites out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was supposed to top out at around 15. So that's like really chef's kiss to show kite flying, right?
Yep.
Well, by the end of the...
But also enough that you like need bodies that know what they're doing.
But the wind picked up,
Mm-hmm.
went to 8, went to 12, went to 15, went to 20, went to 25. By the time it's the end of the day, there's a grown man, I want to say maybe 175, 200-pound man, holding onto the kite string, and I have video of him literally like riding it, kind of like he's on like a bouncy house or something, and he's got his entire body on this string, and he's using all of his force. And like I pan up to the kite, and the kite is just like there.
Yep.
We used Dave's F-150 to get that kite out of the sky, and we to this day talk about how lucky we were. We were at an event that he could drive his truck
to
on.
The hitch and
pull. And even then, Kite Shop Lady in me was like, "This is not safe. This is not advisable."
That's
because it's kind of my job to advise people on what is safe and what is not safe. And that was one of those moments that I kept on joking with people, like the Kite Shop Lady says this is not a good idea.
But also like that.
But we also had to get the kite out of the sky.
That's the mechanical way. The mechanical way you do it.
But like Dave was in the truck backing up.
But I also guarantee Dave has climbing rated, carabiners.
But I'll tell you what, one of the straps on one of his sand anchors blew out. That's how big that wind was.
Yep.
And Dave definitely knows what he's doing.
Sure.
So this all started with conversation of people getting their hands on cheap big kites.
Yep.
And I don't ever want to be a classist and say, well, you can't have the kite unless you have $2,000. Actually, I disagree with that.
Nope.
If you can find a good kite that flies well, that's within your budget, great, fly it. But by making them so affordable, there's a lot of people that are getting in out of their league way too early.
And putting
themselves in
for sure, right?
And I don't want to be classist or bougie or any of that shit where it makes it sound like, well, I'm better than you are. No. I want you to be safe.
I've just been here a little longer. It's not better or anything.
Fun.
Yep. Yeah.
I want you to come back to kites.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to end up in a situation that then turns you off from kites.
And not for nothing on the news.
Right.
Because like we were talking about, there's a beach a little up the way here, back across the Delaware line. No flying things.
Oh, and
because
I think
they've had, and I don't, and from the sound of things, it's not the kites that have been the issue. It's like people with frisbees beaning people and stuff like that.
And I know
so they just said no flying things. Nothing
I know
in
at
the
least
air.
one event that the budget got scaled way back because now the professional kite flyers, those of us who are brought in to do the event, that was one thing, but a member of the public got their kite on a power line and blew out power for like an entire quadrant of that town. And unfortunately, like there was a lot of back and forth on, well, it's not our fault, but unfortunately it really comes down to because the event happened.
Right.
There was that
Optics
member
is
of public.
optics. Yep.
Right. And it's so unfortunate because that was a killer event, but because of one really bad experience, that town is less likely to bring it back.
And like that's why like Dave Shankman out at Kite Connection and out at Huntington. So like when the wind's coming on the water, you're flying towards town,
right?
Because it's beach town. And hey, guess what's between the beach and the town?
Power lines
and palm trees.
Yep.
And so like clockwork, there'll always be somebody new in the single line field that just like, let's see how much line we can let out. And whether they realize it or not, they are now out above the palm trees, above the power lines, and above the town.
And, okay, so actually, what's the rule near an airport? What is it, 200 feet that you can fly?
So it depends on the airport.
Because at this point, we're actually kind of doing some kite education.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically,
so it depends on the airport
when you're
and the
close to power
proximity.
lines, when you're close to an airport, I know that the endurance fly guys, they didn't, when they were originally doing about a month ago, maybe on the Outer Banks, guys broke a world record. They had a kite in the air for 53 hours, flyforever.net. But they were originally doing it farther south on the Outer Banks.
So they say, they just set the record for team flown.
Team, yes.
because
without mechanical assistance.
correct, because there's also some debate about mechanical assistance, about effectively about towing
There
the kite. Like we were
is a
talking about.
longer fly recorded, but it used driving a truck up and down the beach. To keep
And
the
there's
kite in the
also
air.
a solo record that was just set in Australia.
And that's it. So we think that the solo record and the team should be two different categories. But
I do,
anyway,
at least.
the
and-
point is,
yeah,
though,
yep.
these guys, they were originally going to do it farther south on Hatteras Island because, I'm sorry, if you want predictable wind, the Outer Banks is a good place.
Correct.
But when they went down to test, they didn't realize that there was a small little regional airport right there. So where they wanted to fly, they couldn't because there's a limit. And with the endurance fly, they did actually want to put it up high so that they had some leeway.
More consistent wind and more time to react and everything. Yep.
But yeah, but that's
So,
important that people know
to
that.
answer the question, generally speaking, 500 feet is your hard stop limit in almost every airspace in the U.S. because from 500 feet to the surface, unless you're in a specifically classed airspace for an airport,
Right.
like a major airport will come to the surface within usually 8 miles of the airport. So
Right.
below 500 feet over most of the U.S. is what we call uncontrolled airspace.
Right.
So that means do whatever in it,
Mhm.
unless there is a specific rule that says to not to. So
Perfect
there's like
example,
rules
I've
about
got
the
a friend
size
with
of
a drone.
drones.
Exactly. And he has to know where military airspace is.
Yep.
Because if his drone goes 6 feet into that military airspace, he's actually had it happen.
Yeah.
They dropped a drone into a lake and his worst nightmare came true.
Mm-hmm,
Yep. Because he was like, I think he was actually about 18 inches in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, drones can't be over 250 grams now. 249 and
Okay.
under. Otherwise, you need specific licensing.
Right. Right.
So if you're just fun flying drone education too.
Right.
But yeah, when you get near airports, the rules change because you also have to be aware of approach paths.
Right.
So what the active runway is. So anytime you're near an airport, best thing to do is to find the controlling authority and just give them a call.
Right.
They would much rather have a chat with you.
And guys, the internet is also a wonder. If I were to, how high can I fly a kite in Corolla, North Carolina?
Well, you will
Chances are
also,
decent.
you'll also get some conflicting like keyboard
that's true.
warrior information there.
True.
Because there's lots of folks that'll just be
But
like,
that's
well,
where if you go
I
to-
got 1,000 feet of line on my reel, and that's how high I can fly my kite. And
Oh,
the
man.
answer is just because you can doesn't mean you
Well,
should.
okay, so in the kite shop, actually, so most of the kites come with maybe 100 to 200 feet of line in the
Sure.
package, right?
Plenty.
And people always ask, oh, do I need to buy more? And I say, you can if you want to. But don't forget, the
You have
more
to bring it
line you
back.
put out, the more line you're bringing in.
Yep.
And then I just have a hot take. If you're buying a 4.5 foot Delta, putting it up on 1,000 feet of line, you can't see that kite.
That kite's gone.
And I get it. There's some people that just do that because it's fun. But like to me, I'm like, I don't like I can't even see the kite.
Yeah.
So
So
that's my own hot take.
yeah. So the answer is find out who controls the airport. If it's an
Yeah.
uncontrolled airport, it's going to be there's going to be some controlling authority, whether it's an approach. So like
But I
the
think,
little airport up by Corolla on the
Yeah.
island, probably the person to call to find out what the rule is would be approach control for Norfolk.
And for what
and
it's
they're gonna
worth,
have a
we've
phone
never
number.
had problems up
No,
there.
of course.
So,
But
but it's
they'll
also
have
a private airport. Like that's
Yeah.
where like
but like
Brad Pitt flies into.
yeah, but
I just
you know,
made up a rumor.
I
Brad
love that.
Pitt comes
I
to
love that for
Corolla.
us.
Yeah.
But but like yeah, it's a super easy phone call to make. They are going to be happy, and one of two things are going
Right.
to happen. They're going to go, please don't do that.
Right.
Please don't do that above this height. Or oh, you're going to do that? What day? I'll put out what's called a NOTAM, notice to airmen, that there's kite flying activity in that vicinity
Oh,
between and literally I have had that happen where
Yeah.
we did a kite day, and we did a kite day that was literally almost on the airport grounds. Like
Right.
I could throw a rock and hit the control tower.
Wow.
And they put out a notice to airmen and said, hey, there's kite flying to the east side of the field.
So come in from the west side. or
Be
whatever.
advised,
Yeah.
kite flying in the vicinity east side of the field.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
the only there wasn't a runway pointing at us. The only thing that really affected was there's some news helicopters that live at that airport.
Right.
And helicopters, by virtue of being able to stop in air, can
Right.
kind of leave whatever direction they feel like.
Right.
So
When
the
I feel like-
helicopters had to be aware.
And I feel like a good rule of thumb, honestly, is most of these single line kites come with 100 to 200 feet of line. That's probably in the safe zone.
Probably plenty.
Right.
And again, like
But yeah, when in
50
doubt.
meters, 150-ish
But
feet
you will
is like
find a lot of the
plenty of line.
areas that have rules about kite flying. Either we have bad players. Like I will regularly tell people, they're like, well, are there any rules about when I can fly kites around here? And I say, no, but please don't be the reason why they put rules in place.
right. Yep.
But either it's bad players, it's too heavy of tourism. So I'm going to
Yep.
use
Well, that's
LBI
that-
as an example.
or
There's
the
so
Rehoboth,
many people.
I think it's Rehoboth that we were just talking about that says nothing in the air.
I even tell my kite flyers, my sport kite flyers, before 10 a.m. after 5 p.m. in the summer,
Mhm.
because there's so many people there.
Yeah. Well, and
But
that's
then
just use
also
your good
sometimes it's
judgment.
airspace rules.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, wow. Worried about not getting to an hour and a half.
I think we probably ought to cut it.
I think
Yeah.
we've hit a thing. We talked about.
I think
Lots of
people are going to
things.
get bored of our voices.
I
soon.
doubt it, but
Oh, come on. Well, we'll do it again then. Next
we
time.
will. We will
Next
definitely do it.
time on
Well,
Jesse and Cassie
like,
can't stay on
spoiler
track.
alert! Like this was kind of a whim because the weather was, and we were just like,
going
what are
to
we going
talk
to do?
about Kite Shop Lady stuff, and we did a little bit.
We talked Kite Shop Lady stuff and
Cool.
kite shops and kite business.
Hopefully
and all
somebody
sorts of
picked
stuff.
up a tidbit.
I think so. But we have another podcast that you and I are working on anyway.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
there will very much be more of our voices.
Yeah.
But until then, Cassie, where can people find you?
Flying Smiles Kites, www.flyingsmileskites.com, on the socials, on Facebook, Flying Smiles Kites, on Instagram, Flying Smiles Kites, on TikTok, Flying Smiles Kites. I don't do any of the others because I am borderline Gen X and give no Fs. It's fine.
And probably not. I mean, a few more events this year. Cape Fear at any rate.
I know
you love Cape Fear, so you
right.
Kind of
So
get me
for
there for years.
sure, I'm going to Cherry Valley.
Okay.
And
that
that's
one's super cool. It's once every other year.
Every other year. And that's so my boyfriend Dave, he says that is one of his absolute favorite events. So when that came out this year, we said, cool, sign me up. And then my folks are going to LBI because I'm going to be at the shop. My folks are going to go there. We're going to do some trade-off. So if you want to see my parents, LBI.
And her parents are wonderful. They're one of my multiple sets of extra kite parents. So
They're where I got my stunning personality from. So
and the reason you periodically steal sticks from people's kites as you walk by.
I got it, Dad. I got it from you. And then where else am I going? So I'm going to Cape Fear. Mom and Dad are doing LBI. I'm going to convention.
Again. Yep, AKA convention.
And that's in Muncie, Indiana this year.
Yes.
And then I know I'm also going to Cape Fear. And that's the first weekend in November. I probably won't be able to fit in anything else. I might, but
you have a kite shop.
That's it. Is that
and so find her at the kite shop. Find her at the kite shop at the end of the road out in Corolla.
Right, exactly. Come find me at the end of the road. And yeah, this is my last event because basically our season is starting.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, as always, thank you so much for watching, liking, following, subscribing, sharing. We will see you out there, Skyrider.